I'm Chris Jones, and I'm a farmer in mid-Cornwall, and I'm standing in the middle of a nice mixed herbal pasture. We've been doing this for about 11 or 12 years now, and I think it has some amazing advantages over a sort of a very traditional 2 or 3 grass varieties and a clover or 2. We're finding that the more things we can have in here together, the greater the resilience of the pasture itself is, and the better it is to keep animals on. So in here we've got probably 5 or 6 different varieties of grass, and we've got several herbs, in particular yarrow, which is this nice white flower, which is very prevalent this time of year. We've got chicory, which is just everywhere. Here's this tall, very upstanding, blue-flowered plant. And we've got lots of plantain as well, which is, I think everyone's familiar with that, this one here. And then we've got quite a lot of different legumes here too. So there's bird's foot trefoil, which is really a wonderful, wonderful plant. We've got red clover, we've got white clover down here, and the others, there's lucerne in here, and what else? Black medic, a whole mixture of plants. So it's like a little ecosystem rather than a monocrop or a near monocrop situation. And all of these things are doing slightly different things for us, and all, in my view, seem to work better when they're together. So the chicory, one of its chief things is that it roots very, very deeply in the ground. So it means it can bring up all sorts of trace elements and minerals from way, way down in the soil profile, where they're no longer really in the bit of soil we want for giving the plants the right nutrients, and then, of course, the animals after that. So this is bringing down stuff from very, very deep in the soil profile. It means also in a dry time, it can bring up moisture which is otherwise unavailable. It's very rich in tannin, so it helps to worm the cows as they consume it. And it's potentially referred to as a biodynamic accumulator, or a dynamic accumulator. It's bringing up all these things which are out of reach of most of the plants here, bringing them up where it's consumed by the animals, and then in their feces, a lot of that mineral and trace element is there, which then gets incorporated into soil through normal kind of processes, and it's then available to everything else as well. So it's a way of enriching the whole pasture as we go along. We've got this whole mixture here, so the animal as it's coming along, it can pick out individual little bits if it wants to, but by and large, particularly when we're mob grazing and we're putting the animals in close proximity to each other, they have got to eat because they're competing for the pasture. So they've got to eat, and they've got to eat fast, or otherwise they don't get enough. And it means that they are getting some of all these goodies here. Is with this great diversity of plants, if we come to a period, let's say, where there's a glut of a certain insect, let's say, and it takes out all of the red clover, well, we've got other things going here, which we're just much more robust. So overall, it's just a thoroughly good thing. And the cows like it, and we talk about them having a whole mixed salad on display rather than just one kind of grass. When we talk about our wider responsibilities, things like flood management and control, water actually takes time to cross ground like this because it is so dense with plants, and it holds on to water really, really well. And because we've got deep rooting plants here, the water can actually penetrate down into the soil a long way and quickly. The other bonus which we haven't talked about is we've got a massive potential for carbon sequestration in soil here, and especially these deep rooting plants. Most of the agricultural plants are only going down maybe 10 centimetres with their roots into the soil, so it's more or less only a two-dimensional area to be catching carbon in, saving carbon in. But because of the deep rooting things, these chicories go down for a metre, maybe more. You're making a really, really three-dimensional carbon catching volume, of soil. And the soil, since we've started doing this in 2000, I think it was 2009, we put our first one of these in. We've actually doubled the soil organic matter, and that is just a shorthand way of saying carbon, because about 60% of soil organic matter is carbon. So we've doubled that in that space of 9 or 10 years, which is really gratifying. And I think if we're going to have any realistic hope of changing the carbon balance in the atmosphere, we have to be increasing our opportunities for catching it through natural means, through vegetation, and down into the soil, or into timber, or into wetland. I think those are the three main ways of doing it.
So what does it do to your vet bills, Chris?
By and large, I think we are finding that keeping animals on a pasture only is making the animals, or enabling the animals, to be much more healthy in general. We tend to have good feet and pretty good guts, and they tend to be very fecund on this kind of thing, as long as they're not having to work too hard. And I think altogether, by doing this, and rather than let's say much more ordinary kinds of grazing, and then with added concentrates and cereals and so on, this is doing a really, really good job.